We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop. So to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop. And we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. I hope you're the kind of person that could say that you want to learn, you want to improve, you want to grow. You know, the bottom line is every one of us has some sort of blind spot, or we blunder. That includes me, that includes you. We have moments where it's like, oh, you know, there's an awareness or there's an insight that I just didn't pick up on until right now. And hopefully in our circle of friends and acquaintances, we can actually talk with one another about what those elements would be. Then we have the narcissist, and it's like they're not in that same learning mode or that growth mode. Just as I would hope that you would be open to something like that, the narcissist is thinking, I'm not nearly as much about learning and growth as I am about maintaining a certain image, and that's so important to them. They have figured out, I want to be in a position of power. I want to be in a position of strength and superiority over you. And I especially don't want to have to admit any kind of vulnerability, which they interpret as weakness. And so it inhibits their ability to learn and grow greatly. You see, along with this narcissism, these individuals have crafted a narrative about who they have to be and how they have to present themselves. And many times they have no regard for truth. They can have no regard for genuine honesty. They can have no regard for input from other individuals. They have no regard for personal adjustments. They have no regard for challenging opinions. It's all about image control, damage control, maintaining power, or having an above it all kind of reputation. Which then means that as you're dealing with those narcissistic individuals, there's going to be one huge characteristic that's going to keep popping up over and over, and that's the characteristic of rationalization. How many times have you been around a narcissist who's done something that's glaringly wrong, or they've made a miscalculation, and they can't say that I was glaringly wrong and I made a miscalculation? Instead, when something happens, they go straight into the rationalization mode. They have to justify. Let me give you a few examples. I heard a story just fairly recently about two adult brothers who were at a social gathering together. They were in a family function, and a certain topic came up. What the topic was is almost irrelevant. And one had an opinion and the other had a differing opinion. And before you know it, they both went into high argument mode. And they were so harsh and caustic toward one another that one of them finally left early because, like, I just don't want to be in your presence. You've done this to me all the time. And the other was over there saying, well, that's fine with me because you never will listen. And then if you were to talk to each of those brothers afterwards, guess what they would do? Rationalize. Well, actually, the reason it happened is because I was this and he was that, and the other would do the same in reverse. That's what I'm talking about. Or I recall talking with a father about his teenage son, and he'd been going to counseling, and he was asking me some questions about it. And the son was being very rebellious and harsh, and this father was known as being a super overbearing, dogmatic, in control, have to be in charge kind of a person, very condescending. And his comment to me was, I've been doing everything the counselors have been telling me to do. And he went on and explained, I do this, this, and this. And I knew that as he was talking, he wasn't grasping the essence of what his counselors were telling him. He was too busy rationalizing. Well, I do everything right. Therefore, whatever's going on with my son and inside my family can't possibly be my problem. Ever happened to you? You know people like that? Or there's another one. There's a covert narcissist woman that she would just kind of stay to herself because she had this real strong judgmental attitude toward everyone else. and most other individuals. And her comment would be, if someone were to say, come on and join us over here, it's like, nah, everybody I know is out there in that group, they're just a bunch of snobs anyway. And as a result, there would be a lot of condescension towards them. And you kind of got the feeling when you would hear that person talk, she's trying to get ahead of their criticism back towards her. Rationalization. Well, the reason I withdraw, the reason I don't have friends is because it's all their fault. You kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about? Rather than saying, I'm in the middle of all of this and I need to grow, and sure enough, there may be some external issues out there that need to be adjusting, but I need to take a hard look at myself. Instead, they can't do that. They're constantly having to justify who they are. A long time ago, they began realizing talking about my needs or my hurts or my confusion or my mistakes, we go back to that word vulnerable. It leaves me feeling vulnerable, and I am not about to do that. And as a result, these individuals are known for being easily drawn into arguments with you. They can go into shutdown mode toward you. They can constantly contradict other stories or comments that they've made earlier. They may have said, well, in this case, my rationalization was this. In this case, it's this. And it's like, wait a minute, one can't be true without the other. And yet they can certainly do that. They can hold on to gross illogic, which is a nice way of saying they have some dumb ideas about who knows what. They sometimes won't let you finish a sentence because they're so busy trying to make you think the same way that they think, that in their rationalization, they simply can't have an honest exchange of thoughts and ideas. If they have a failure, it's virtually always someone else's fault. And many times their reasoning it can sometimes just be laughable. Rationalization. And the crazy thing about rationalization with narcissists, it's like they have a commitment to that rationalization. It's like, no, I'm going to keep doing it because that's what works best for me. And one of the things that you find is it's so difficult to break through because it's like, no, I have to have a good explanation if there's any kind of flaw that involves me. Now, once you go deeper and deeper into that rationalization mode like these individuals do, there are going to be certain repercussions that come along. And I want to run through a bunch of them with you because I suspect that as you engage with the narcissist in your life, you're going to see a lot of these kind of things. For example, as they go into rationalization mode, narcissists they show themselves to be unwilling toward accountability. They're impossible to please. It's because they're constantly rationalizing. It's like, come on, you got to go along with me. They have a chronic undertow of agitation. They can have an almost total refusal to affirm you. For example, if you have an idea that's different from theirs, they can't say, oh, I really like having you around because you bring a different perspective. They can't do that. They will avoid difficult situations like the plague. It's like, in other words, they're fair weather friends. They're willing to let relationships deteriorate and die. It's like, I'd rather hold on to my rationalizations than to build up my relationship with you. They show very little curiosity because if they ask the question, well, I haven't really thought about this perspective before, tell me about it, then that leaves them open to you telling them something that they might have to say, I need to look into that a little bit further. That's different from what I think. They don't have that kind of curiosity. Instead, they have chronic rigidity or a lack of any kind of flexibility with you. They're chronically blamers. There's always, if there's a problem, it's almost always someone else's fault. They can have double standards with you. They can be very divisive. It's like, if you don't agree with me and my logic and my rationalizations, then get out of here. They can perpetuate anxiety. Actually, they have it in themselves, but they'll perpetuate it in you. They can be very judgmental as part of their cover up and hiding behind their shield. They have perpetual black and white thinking. They can be incredibly poor listeners, zero empathy. It's not a very good way to do relationships, is it? And then the net result is you can have anger, and you can feel rebellious when you're around these people. Sometimes you have emotional collapse. You can have futility and lonely feelings, like I just don't feel like this person is ever going to understand me. So let's just think about something real carefully as we try to figure out how to respond to these people who are committed to their rationalizations. And that is, are you going to be able to make them stop? Are you ever going to make them see the light? And the answer is not only no, but typically the more you go into their rationalizations with them, it just gets worse. Like I say, they're committed to it, and you have to understand fully the fear that they have of any kind of vulnerability. When you try to make them break through their rationalizations, you're asking them to be vulnerable. You're asking them to admit their inadequacies or their lack of full understanding, and that's something that just is ultra scary to them. They're deeply threatened by that. It's like, I am not about to tell you or anyone else about my hurt feelings or needs or anything that makes me look like I'm inadequate. So that being the case, let's look at a couple of thoughts as you respond to them. First, I'm hoping that you, in your reasoning, can stay strong. They want to break you down as they rationalize. It's like, no, I like the way that I think, and I don't feel the need to lay down my good reasoning just to go along with your lack of openness or vulnerability. And then second, I hope that you can have good boundaries with these individuals as they try to draw you in. It doesn't mean you have to go along with their program at all. You can say, well, nonetheless, this is how I think. And then when they just prove that they cannot and will not listen to you and they want to keep bringing you back into their agenda, it's like, ultimately, I'm still okay with my decisions, and you just don't have to go into a deep defense of who you are. So let's hold on to the notion that says, I'd like to coordinate well with these individuals, but if it requires me to suspend my good rationale, no thank you. I'm going to stay over here on Team Healthy. I do hope that videos such as this give you a good insight about what you're seeing in some of the relationships in front of you. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button below. And we also have an email list. And by the way, with the email list, you'll get possibilities for some of the promotions and all that we have, and extra articles and things of that nature. In addition, if you need some counseling, then I would encourage you to seek out counseling where you are. And if you don't have a counseling available, then we have an online counseling center or a counseling service that we refer to. It's a sponsor, and we've received good feedback from them, and I would encourage you to avail yourself to that. Also, I would encourage you to look into my free-to-be workshop. It's all about responding to the controllers in your life, and it's a very extensive workshop with a whole lot of videos and questions and written material. It requires quite a bit of effort on your part, but I hope it would be worth the investment for you. And then in addition, we have our survivingnarcissism.tv, drlescarter.com, links to our books, etc. Lots of stuff down there. Okay, these folks that just want to rationalize their life away, I'm sorry that that's where they are, but I'm hoping that you can have a sense that says, I don't mind being vulnerable at all. I'm going to go back and say, I'm going to be the kind of person that's in a growth mode. And if these folks just can't come with me, then I'm going to be in a growth mode anyway. And in doing so, I'm hoping you can find your sense of calmness. I'm hoping that you can live inside well-conceived confidence. And in doing so, you can be a person of peace. Be a person of peace.